Good morning. Morning all. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Anybody get up to anything exciting? Welcome back, Martin. Good to see you back. Aaron, Amira, Martin, Leon, Dale, Nick. How you doing, pal? Silver. Hope you guys are all well and had a good weekend. Let me know I'm coming through okay before I get started. I spent the weekend. Thanks, buddy. Spent the weekend doing my kind of YouTube area. I'll see if I can show you this actually. Don't know if you can see this from here, but let's see if you can. So if you can see it there. So this will be my new kind of backdrop for my recording area, which I've just ordered two different cameras. A new mic came today. Got a new kind of thingy microphone. Getting moving up in the world. I don't spend much money on myself actually. All I've spent is money on the business, but I quite enjoy it. So let's see. Morning, guys. Okay, let's get into the markets, shall we? SPX today, we had an initial push, but we've fallen off a little bit. It's still okay from a daily perspective. I put neutral into my risk sentiment because I think that's probably the right way to do it. We are maybe getting some, from a daily perspective, some price acceptance above this area before continuation, possibly. Friday wasn't a great day. We would have liked this to push on, but we could be getting that 20 catch up before moving to the upside. So saying that, from a 4-hour perspective, as I've said with a few of the charts, you would have expected this to have moved at this point in time, right? So we pushed on and we kind of completely failed back. And we can kind of roughly get to a retest of that channel trend line. And we are pushing a little bit. So UK wasn't open. UK had a bank holiday, I think, on Friday. But it'll be interesting to see what London and the US does today. Remember, it is a Monday still. We have to remember that Monday. Not many fundamental drivers. Not usually a great day to be trading. But I don't particularly like this. You know, from a daily perspective, it looks okay. From a 4-hour and probably downward, if we look at the hourlies, you know, it doesn't look too great. So my bias for it would be within these levels. It's got to be within these levels to get our kind of confirmation. I'm not looking at the highs. I'm looking at this key area and obviously the lows from here. So we're in a rangy environment. My risk sentiment will be neutral until we break one of these areas to the upside, a bit more risk on to the downside. It could be a little bit worrisome for the market, and are we then going to continue in terms of Dow theory with this being our higher low? So higher low here, a new higher low, and we continue down. That is still on the cards. That is absolutely still on the cards. It's still the path of least resistance. So these are my areas on the 4-hour chart, waiting for a break above or a break below to determine where I'm going to put or look to put my money into. Risk on or risk off. Dollar's another one. Dollar's another one that's looking a bit shorty. It's looking a little bit shorty. We did have a push on, and again, very similar to the SPX, where we thought, you know, from here, are we going to then continue out this corrective and go? Certainly from a decent push, and it's faltered a little bit. There is some strength coming in here, but what we're looking for is that follow through. We're looking for that momentum, and we're not quite getting it yet. So the price action here, I mean, what's everybody's thoughts on the dollars? We could look at this. You know, we could look at head and shoulders here. We could look at possibly a larger head and shoulders here. I don't particularly like this price action. But as I said, there's no follow through to the upside. From a daily perspective, again, you know, that push has been sold into. And if I had to give my bias, it would probably be very similar to the SPX. We're looking at those lows and we're looking at these intraday highs on what we look for, because we could look at this as a V reversal here. So a V reversal, pull back into it for continuation down, or look at those other options and we're just, you know, we had a news event day on Friday, obviously, and there is some decent strength to this impulse, possibly in that smaller corrective for continuation up. I still like dollar longs. I still do like dollar longs, but the chart is not really telling me that right now. I mean, we look at the hourly. So we compare this to the SPX in terms of that corrective, it looked better for downward movement. And for this dollar, this impulse, okay, a little bit climactic, but what we're getting into now in smaller time frames is just, a bit more of a corrective. So I think from a technical aspect, there's many different variants of what we could look for. From a hunch aspect, from a fundamental aspect as well, you're looking at dollar longs, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if this came off. Dollar's still long. People in the US are spending like crazy. House market's super high, and even gas prices. People keep buying new cars. Probably Memorial Day and the Jubilee of the Queen will have some effect. Yeah, possibly. Everybody's hungover. Possibly, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think dollar should be long, right? I do think dollar should be long. We could be getting this as well from a daily breaking out. And remember what I say, that I like the breakouts that kind of accumulate after the break and then go to the upside. So from a daily perspective, we could be getting that, but then we can't discount what we saw, in terms of that bearish 180. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to sit myself on the fence on both the SPX and the dollar today, and I'm going to wait for that confirmation. But I don't really have a bias. If it's coming off, let's see how London opens. Okay, open positions. Now, Euro NZD obviously got stopped out. Unfortunately, I didn't get the full whack. This was the when we talked about, this was still in play, from this to push to the upside. And I'm not saying that's going to follow through yet, but it was very similar with Euro Yen, where we had that opposite bias where this could happen, but with Euro Yen, it didn't happen. With Euro NZD, it happened to happen. And ironically, I really like this idea. I really like this setup. I like that aggressive entry. Obviously, we're out there with break even, which is fine. No harm, no foul. But we did get stopped out on our breakout trade to the downside. So would I take that trade again? Yeah, I think absolutely I take that trade again. I think there was certainly enough there for a short bias, certainly looking at that weekly chart. And it's one that, unfortunately, just got away with us. So I was hoping it would go just to give that nice clean sweep and probably double-digit numbers, but it wasn't to be. I still kind of like it short, depending on what that market does, our stock market does. But also the other interesting thing about it, from our new trade management perspective, right? So if I go down where my stop actually was on that 30-minute, which was here, we've stopped out of both, right? So the stop was here, about half the risk, and I'll go into the Euro Yen trade management as well. But we got stopped out of both, so there's no difference in our new setup or our new potential trade management. It looks as if they're going to go, they go, right? And if they don't go, they'll likely stop us both out. So it's interesting to, again, it's a loss, but we're learning from it, right? That's what you're always going to do. We're learning that, well, seems to be most of these are just coming back and stopping us out. So if you get the wrong idea and it doesn't break out, then we're going to be wrong on both counts most of the time. So Euro NZD out and aggressive out for break even. But let's look at the positive side. Gcad has just been taken. Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. Gcad has just been taken out for about 6.5%, which is lovely. Great. A really nice trade. And I was happy to lock some profits in. Remember, this was a 30-minute chart. So I didn't really want to have my stop up here. We did technically break underneath the lows. So from a swing perspective, because of the movement that it had on this 4-hour chart, right? Because we have had a very decent movement. This is not going to go on forever. We know the weekly, yeah, okay, the weekly is a little bit extended, but I'd rather just lock in there and potentially look for a re-entry at some point in time. But that was a really nice trade. A really nice trade to the downside. And it may be a good time to get out if the pound decides to have some movement to the upside today. Like I said, I'd rather, from a psychological perspective, knowing that this technically is a swing, even though it looked like a fake, I'd rather lock in that profits than seeing this potentially come out and then continue down like that, because I don't like seeing that. So happy with Gcad, a good trade, stopping the rut and, taking away quite a few of those losing trades in a very short period of time. So setup there was all the way back here. So it just shows you the breakout retest has been a beast this year. It's been the best strategy. Absolutely been the best strategy this year. Steady state retest. Nice inverted hammer. It was lucky I posted that because I was in a meeting. I took it just quickly, went back to my meeting and thinking, shit, I've not put it on the group, and quickly put it on the group. Didn't put the setup or anything, so I was lucky I actually put it in. So Gcad, a very nice trade that I'm just out of. And Euro Yen, you know, as I said with both of them, Euro Yen was the one that I liked a little bit better because of the potential to move on these higher time frames, which with Gcad, we probably have that limitations because of how far it did go. We have to be a little bit more patient with this because it's a 4-hour chart. We're just looking for this level to potentially hold. I mean, potentially hold a break above the highs. We can move our stop up here and capture in a little bit more profit. So this, I think, just over 2% is banked. But if it does come down, you know, we're just looking for that swing. Or potentially if it comes back a little bit deeper, if we go a little bit more risk off, I'll look for that anchor to move stop in case we do come back and the yen gets some strength on account of that risk off nature. So this is good. You know, this is nice. The analysis here, like I said with Euro NZD, was that the worry about this was it falls down. This one happened to not do that, but it looks as if we're making more money with this one, obviously, than Euro NZD where we lost. And that's ultimately the aim of the game, right? So what I was talking about with trade management is with the new one. So we go down here. So the red line here is where I put my new trade management, which was basically half risk from our original one. I think hopefully you're all keeping up with this, right? So with this, because this is a winner, and by the way, when it went, right? Okay, it came back here, but that's okay. It didn't come back into that breakout zone. It just retested it probably from a 4-hour perspective, right? So with this banking 2, we'd actually be banking 4 all the way down here. So if you think about the two scenarios where we're trying to get a little bit more aggressive with our trade management, right? We lose 2% on EN, but then in our winning trade, if we get to the 4, 6, or you know whatever it is, it's probably up at maybe. Well, let's calculate it. I'm pretty sure this is 54 pips, 52 pips, and we're running 331, right? So 52 into 331. What's that? How many R's is that? Obviously half. We've taken half off potentially. 100, 200, 300, 6 point something, right? So with the new trade manager, we take 2% off at 2R, which we would have got here. So we were banking 2%, and then we're running at 6R on the second trade, which is 3R, which is 6%. So it's actually running here about 8%. Okay, so 8% on EJ, potentially. Obviously, this is not banked yet, but let's just look about the figures. And we lose 2% on EA. We've got a surplus here of 6%. So that's where this increased trade management comes into fruition. Like I said, I think I'm fairly certain I will change this, but I want to be comfortable before I do and have, obviously, enough data to make sure I'm comfortable doing that. So Euro Yen and Gcad. Lovely, lovely. Okay, setups today. There's only a few. Aussie CAD is the first one. Potentially on this 4-hour, I could have looked aggressive here, but not enough volume on this catalyst. So this is still in play down here. I'm particularly looking at our 4-hour. So we've got our potential loss of momentum here from this corrective. Looking for a head and shoulders at this area. Excuse me. Looking for a head and shoulders here. Possible aggressive entry up in here if we do pull back for a breakdown, right? Continuing with that trend. We've got our confluence from a daily outside bullish engulfer. Okay, it's not come on volume, but it certainly is confluence to continue with that downward trending market. Very simple idea and almost a breakout retest, but not enough within our secondary structure here to take a breakout retest. But a trade I'd like to be involved in. Absolutely. USD NOK is another one. I'm recording this, right? Yeah, I'm recording it. Good. USD NOK is, again, still setting up with that head and shoulders here. It's not something I'd look for an aggressive entry in for because of the price action moving up into it. Very similar here, a little bit too climactic for me, unless we turn into a potential ABC, but I don't think I would like that from a price action perspective. I'm wanting this to come down today, consolidate, break to the downside. USD NOK, a decent hedge play if we do get that dollar weakness, which we're probably not as expecting as dollar strength. But again, a possible good hedge play, very similar where we're getting a push and it's just being sold into on USD NOK. Pound Swiss. Pound Swiss is something that may be gone now. So depending on how this 4-hour closes, okay? We know we like the weekly. We know we like the daily. We've talked about that for a bit. So we've still got until 1 o'clock, so 2 and a bit hours before this 4-hour closes. We've got our first structure. We've got our second structure. This is all good. But we need a rejection, right? I'd like to see a rejection. We cannot break above these highs. We're back to that 20. It's very close to a breakout order, actually, to the downside. But I'm going to wait to see how this 4-hour rejects or potentially rejects at 1. Daily obviously is good here. Weekly is very nice to the downside. But are we going to push on in that stock market? Potentially. So pound Swiss looking at that 4-hour closed for a potential breakout to the downside, which could come today. And finally, USD Swiss. USD Swiss, where is it? Here. USD Swiss, I like the context, right? The context is great. Up with handle, head and shoulders within that handle, digested this move to the upside quite nicely, looking for a breakout retest move to the upside, okay? Context is nice, probably A class if it does break out. But what's not great is the higher time frames. So do we want to be buying it here? Yes, okay, we can still say we're going with this trend, but I don't like this price action. It's quite, it's obviously very strong to the downside. But if we do get some dollar strength, then, you know, okay, we could get potentially from here. Obviously, this doesn't look great, but we could get a move here and potentially a complex or it comes back down. But we could get a trade to the upside, impossible from A wave to B wave. I just don't like it. You know, I just don't like it. I like the idea of buying the USD Swiss. You know, this here is actually not bad into that kind of wedging structure for a break above. And as I said, the context is great. I just don't know what is getting me in. You know, whether it be a push in the market, a bit more risk on, but then will that negatively affect the dollar? I don't know. I don't know if I massively like it, but I'm going to watch it anyway. It's a good position as well. I like taking breakouts from, you know, technically B wave here. Context is good. I just don't know what's getting me in, and I don't want to go and take a trade that I'm not massively comfortable with. On USD Swiss. Okay, let's have a look at some of your guys' ones. Possible sell on Pound Aussie. Let's have a look at Pound Aussie. Yeah, I mean, even though the pound likes to do this, right? Certainly when it's weakening off. I don't think anything has changed, right, for the pound to be massively bid. So, yeah. I mean, the bias would ultimately have changed now, right? Selling into Pound Aussie would make sense. I mean, I even agree with it on Pound CAD. I don't think this sustains, but we've seen it. We've seen the pound do pound things where it can do that. So selling into any strength would make sense. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Sorry, been away for a bit. Yeah, I hope you had a good time with your family, Martin. An idea for the 50. Oh, the 50 free Aussie dollar. So you're looking at buying the Aussie dollar. So remember, this is completely your idea, Martin. You can ask for our opinion. Absolutely. Looking at buying the Aussie dollar from this area on a pullback. Roughly around this trend line. Decent little 4-hour rejection on volume. Getting a reaction here off this 200. We did technically break above this area. Aussie dollar long. I mean, look, if you like it, then yeah. What I would be worried about coming from here is, are we breaking from deep? That's the only thing I'd be worried about. Is that a fake? You know, and possibly we come down here, take retail and continue. 4 hour perspective, you've got that kind of, I guess, trend line confluence, right? And it's kind of neatened itself up a little bit, I would say. Moving here, it is underneath the 20. Is that enough to go long? Maybe. But if you're looking at this with your stops underneath here, with your risk reward play to continue with that, then that would make sense, because that risk reward is pretty good, right? So yeah, if you like that, then you like it. Price action here. There's just not a lot of oof. Come on, Aussie dollar. But if you do get obviously, if you get that push in the market, oh, not here. And ironically, some of the other markets look a lot better than the US one. But if you do get that push above, then Aussie dollar should be a good buy. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be, Martin. But if you want to, so if you, again, this is, I know you're asking my opinion, but you can place whatever trade you want. And if you want me to place it, I can place it now, because I can see where the risk reward is coming from. So do you want me to do that? If you're happy with it, it's free. Like I said, you don't have to worry about winning or losing it. It's got a good risk reward. Don't feel the RTE yet. Don't let me influence you, Martin. I'm wrong many times. It's totally free, yeah. It's just, yeah. So whenever you want to take it, just put it into whatever chat and just say, Ryan, this is a trade, stop loss here, blah, 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 blah. And I'll put it in for you. But it's whatever the idea you want. But I mean, to be honest, I like it, but maybe, as Nikolai was pointing out, maybe selling into pound strength could be a good little risk reward play, because pound has been weak. You know, maybe pound CAD, selling into pound CAD strength could be a good idea. Again, talking a bit more fundamentally based, but I don't want to influence you. It's not my trade, it's yours. You're selling AU, as well as the other ones against the dollar. Yeah, I mean, it is a Monday as well, isn't it? It is a Monday as well. So we'll look at the weekly. There's just not for me looking at it, right? So for me looking at markets, if I'm taking all my biases away, like you're taking this, for me, I would be looking, if I was looking at buying AU, obviously I would be looking at this. That's what I would want. That makes more sense to me. Obviously, you guys know how I trade. I just, you know, that for me is probably a pretty stereotypical fake out, because we're breaking, and fair enough, it's healthy. I get it's healthy, but we're breaking kind of climactically, right? So you can normally see that come down. So I would prefer it to do that, and then could look at longs. But that doesn't have to happen. Doesn't have to happen. Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want me to look at before I hop off on this Monday? Don't think anybody sent any other trades, right? Oh, I was going to talk about Omar's message. Let me just make sure I've not missed anything. Oh yeah, Bitcoin. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. So I don't know who had the best. I have to go out and say who's got the best guess. What would I say? It was $50. I'm not going to say the winner yet, because we don't know if this is the low. It's having a decent push here. Right? It's failing to break. This area is holding pretty stern. It's holding pretty well. I still think, from a general consensus, we're still in this, and we might have some volatility. So again, we think about Dow theory. Within Dow theory, we've got a primary, we've got a secondary, and we've got a tertiary, right? So we've got primary, we've got secondary, and then we're getting these movements here, which could be just classed as tertiary movement within the primary trend. So again, we can't forget about the bigger structure here. If you're looking at selling Bitcoin, which, you know, it's been sold into, would that change if we see, again, we visualize price action coming up? Would that change the whole premise of this? Potentially. Potentially. But this daily is not closed yet. So we're far from this daily close. We're at this 200 now. Again, it's another one where you've kind of got to wait for confirmation, right? There's nothing about this price action here telling me to buy it, right? Still, even though we're going like this, there's nothing about that telling me to buy it just yet. I'd rather wait for something more concrete on the daily. From an investment standpoint, buying a bit at 31k, do I think that's bad? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, dollar cost averaging, etc. I just don't know whether that sustains. I don't know whether that sustains right now. Still holding it. Yeah, I mean, you hold it all day, right? You hold it all day. I'm not worried about it. I'm just trying to get in a better price, and I've not bought any additional just yet. I just let's see, because it has. I mean, that was a hell of a drop. Again, 70-30 rule. We got to think about our 70-30 rule. We're still in that digestion phase. It's going to take a bit longer than it takes the drop. So we'll see. We'll see. But I've not bought any more. Put it that way. I've not bought any more. So that's a good thing. That's what we like to see, Nick, right? When nobody's buying it, when your uneducated investors are not buying it and they're selling off, that's the best time to buy it, right? When they're all buying it, they're all talking about buying Bitcoin at 60k, that's when you sell it. I don't know whether anyone's a hairdresser here, but this is a bad kind of thing. This is when your hairdresser talks about Bitcoin, you sell it, right? Basically, I can't remember the exact saying, but that's kind of roughly the area where you go for. When your hairdresser's selling it, you buy it. Probably would buy it. Yeah, I mean, I would buy it at 40k, as long as I get something that interests me from a trading perspective. You know, my original goal is 100k, so 40k is still obviously over 100% increase for me, which I'm more than happy with. But I would just need to see something that says, okay, I'm happy buying it now, even though I'm not going in the perfect price. You know, I have bought on the way down, so. Yeah, there you go. Just go to the opposite of people who don't know what they're talking about, respectfully, of course. Like buying Luna, right? Although I didn't know much about Luna, I have to say. I've only done a little bit of research into what actually was that recently. But he started Luna 2.0 as well. It's crazy. Anyway, Omar. Oh, I'll let you type, Amira. Oh, no, you're not typing. So, Omar, I know you're not on stream. I think you're at work. There's absolutely... I always like... I don't want to say I always like. It's good that you're putting that out there, right? That you're saying, guys, look, I failed. Because failing a verification, I've done it. I've failed many challenges, a few verifications. It doesn't mean that you're a bad trader. We know that. It doesn't mean the FTMO and MFF doesn't mean you're a bad trader, right? There's time constraints. There's all these things that kind of do work a little bit against the trader where you do need that little bit of luck. So as you said with your message, oh, that's Nikolai, that's not Omar. Where is he? He's down here. Taking a break from the charts, yeah, I understand this when you say you knocked me out. You know, when I went through that 6 months of challenges and then getting to the verification and not passing the verification, it does hurt. You know, it does take a little bit of a toll on you, which is why I've not started another one yet. I'm waiting until my new trade management system is in place before I do that. I will do it. You know, I have that goal, and I'm always going to have that goal because, you know, when I set myself something, I'm going to do it. Like, it might take me years, but I'm going to get that 400k in FTMO. I'm going to do it. And that's the only thing. And you said the journey continues. That's the only thing it is. All right? consistency and getting up after you've been smacked down and getting up, you will win. You will win. Just say that to yourself. As long as you keep going, and understand these challenges cost money, I get that. But as long as you keep going, nothing can stop you, right? So fair play. It happens. It's happened to the best of us. It doesn't define you as a trader. You know you're a good trader. You just get back up on the board and go again. And it'll come. It'll come. Same with everyone. Martin, you know, you're starting your challenge. You know, you may not have the trading conditions that you would like, but that, you know, if you fail it, it doesn't mean anything. You know, you're, like I said, I know I'm a good trader. It doesn't mean anything. And if there's a plane going on my head, there's another option here, because yeah, there's been a little bit more negativity, I think, with people probably now realizing that how difficult they are. I still think they're valid, absolutely. You know, when somebody's offering you 200,000 up to 400,000, it's not going to be easy, right? And I think a lot of negativity is coming from people that can't do them, right? Because when you can't do them, you get annoyed. And I'm the same. I'm the same. When I get annoyed, I'm thinking, you know, why don't they just increase it to 60 days? Why do they have to give us a time limit? But ultimately, their job is also to make money. You know, it's a business. At the end of the day, they have to make money, and they make a hell of a lot of money. And it's just unfortunately the price you pay for that equity. Now, that's one of the reasons why I am really enjoying StockNet right now. But that doesn't mean I don't like what FTMO and my Forex funds are doing, because, you know, we want the equity, right? They're I mean, fair enough, they're not giving us real money, but they're giving us the option there. But I do understand the other side of it. The worst thing about FTMO, the worst thing is that the fact that they have a payout date. I do not understand that. You know, that is one of the worst things. Okay, once you get funded, why do they have a payout date? Like, it's nonsense, and I've argued with them all the time about it, saying if I've got a 4-hour trade like Gcad or whatever, and I'm hitting my, let's say my edge comes from these big trades, right? Let's just pretend this is pound CAD. Right, and I get cut out at maybe, a 1% gain when I should be on 6.5, where my kind of edge comes from, really. And then I go and lose my next trade, where I'm now down rather than being up. It's crazy. It's just such a bad rule. And this is where I understand that some of these companies, they have policies in place that work against you. Absolutely. But, you know, there's still a market for them. But I think you might see more like StockNet, which I think premise is great. It works for the trader come into the market. I think there's never not going to be like competition for FTMO and MFF. There'll be companies like StockNet that come in that people will then turn to. And I'm actually, I won't put this on YouTube. Let me just mute my YouTube. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money in it. FTMO and MFF are just the pure examples of that. The money they make is unreal. Because they know, despite what you might see online, they know that 95% of people will fail. 95, you think about that if you've got a profit margin of 95%, you're happy, right? If you're selling a product, you got a 95% profit margin, you're making big bucks from it. So yeah, I think there'll be more competition coming in the future. But again, I'm not saying that I don't think they're good companies at all. I think they're certainly valid. They're certainly trustworthy. That's important. And they give you the equity. You have that chance. And as long as you get that buffer, then, you know, it's a little bit easier. But that is just my opinion. I'll let you guys type. To be in that business? Do you mean part of FTMO? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what I as I said, like, Martin, I do think I'm not saying FTMO my Forex traders are bad. Absolutely not. I really like them. Right there, they're trustworthy. They've got a great system, and they give you the opportunity of getting a massive amount of funding, which not a lot of other people do. You know, and as I said, their payouts are they pride themselves on their payouts. They never delay it or anything like that. And if you get it, then you get it. But there is certain things where, you know, for example, they introduced a few months back where you could get paid out every 2 weeks, right? But obviously you're dangling that thing or that carrot in front of the trader so you can get paid out every 2 weeks. Obviously we know here that we shouldn't be doing that. We always keep our buffer, but you just got to be smarter, right? As long as you're smarter and you get that buffer, then you should be okay. It's just that payoff date. That payout date is just silly. I don't like it, but hey, what we do. Won't lie that the business model kind of weird. I mean, it's genius. It's genius, Nick. If you're the owner of FTMO, it's a great business model. Because like I said, it goes with an industry where most people are not going to be profitable in it. I'd love to be on the board there. But yeah, anyway. But they're great. Look, and there's nothing. There's obviously problems. There's problems with other companies. There's whatever. But ultimately, you've got a price to pay for the equity, and that's it. And when you get it, it feels like you've achieved something, right? That's one of the great things, is that kind of sense of achievement. So we'll see. Anyway, I'm dragging on now. I'm dragging on. Anything else you guys want me to look at before I go? I'll let you guys type. AJ, Anthony, Joshua. Yeah, the yen weakness is still AJ looks very similar to EJ, right? Right, impulse, loss of momentum, ABC, 1, 2, push through, nice break. So those all worked pretty well. I still like the idea of buying it. You know, it possibly, again, similar to EJ, possibly needs a little bit of a pullback. Just depending on what that market does, if we do get a bit of risk off nature, you probably see this yen massively strengthen up. But if we don't, continued weakness. So we're still looking at buying it. I would sell it, but I can't. I've reached my limit. I mean, it is extended. I like the higher time frame confluence. I like the higher time frame confluence. But selling on a pullback from here, this obviously can't go on forever. Then yeah, I just think. Again, it will depend on what that market does with AJ. Market pushes, then AJ will push. Pullback. Very similar to what I'm doing with Euro Yen. I'm just waiting for that pullback to complete and continue, which it just may take some time. I think they're great companies to start with and do your own thing. The challenges are annoying, but they are great. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree, Martin. And there is the option there where if you're looking at getting that equity, where you get that buffer, and obviously you keep that buffer, and then you just keep taking money out, right, and putting it into your own account. So yeah, if you're a good trader, for example, like a lot of us are here, you just have to, very similar to trading, you just have to keep going, keep getting up, and eventually you'll get it. Eventually you'll get that buffer, and then that's it. You're kind of off. That's it. Just has to happen once. And I agree. You know, it does help with that 5% daily drawdown rule. It's good. It's good. So yeah, definitely. Equity is the name of the game, and they offer it, and they're trustworthy. So very good. Right, guys, I've been on for a while. I'll head off. and have a great day. Remember, it is a Monday. Mondays are sometimes quiet, as we know. I'll keep an eye on EJ. I'll keep an eye on G-Swiss in case I take any trades. But let's see. Let's see what this week brings. Hopefully another nice week and we start to build up that positive percentages. So, all right, guys, have a great day and I'll see you all in the morning. Peace.